Hi friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. All right guys, it's a good one today. I'm gonna go over all the basics of 3D foundation, and also this video is part of my 12 days of giveaways for the holidays. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for being here. All right, friends, let's go ahead and get started. If you are new or you've just heard of what Seint Beauty is, I'm going to be going over 3D foundation today, the basics and the basics of application, and it's going to go along with my giveaway, which is going to be, let's see, is this a triple palette? And this is a triple, which is the size I like because let's be honest, it gives you room to grow. This is a number 27 palette in, I believe the color is Slip, a very pale blush pink. The Perfector, because if you've ever seen my channel before, you know I recommend applying without it, and I'll explain why. And then my top two brushes for the beginner. And then of course, a custom color match from me with your 6 color match shades to go along with your starter kit. And there you go. I'm gonna show you how I would use all of those for a quick face and tell you a little bit about the basics of 3D foundation. So if you don't know, 3D foundation is a fully customizable cream makeup system. Okay, so these are just a few of our colors. I have Demi here and 3D foundation, lots of lip and cheek choices. But the cool thing is you can build a palette with only what you will use, only what you want, everything from eyeshadows to finishing touches to perfumes. We have them all, but they're all really portable and compact in whatever size compact you like. So this starter kit comes with a triple because that is what I use on the daily. And I feel like once you start, you're gonna wanna grow your collection. I think the number one thing I hear from my clients are they wish they would have started with a bigger palette to grow into. So we have some new palettes that are that got released for the holidays. So a double that's the same size, that's the 18, or even these smaller ones. There's all different kinds of colors, patterns. They're always coming out with new ones. They go smaller depending on if you want to travel with them. There really are endless options, and I always kind of warn my clients when they're getting started. It can be a little overwhelming because you get to choose everything, which is good and bad, right? If you like options, it's like a shopping lover's dream. But if you like to be told exactly what to get, I can help you in that department too. I do custom matches for everyone. I'm not just gonna point you to the website and say, grab this collection. I custom every single face to what I believe is gonna give you the best results based on how you answered my questionnaire. Because I'll be honest, makeup is very custom. I don't believe there's one application method, one set of colors that everyone can wear. I do believe 3D foundation can be customized in a way that anyone will love it. I truly believe that after 5 years of being an artist, that all in the combination of shades and the way you're applying it for your skin type, and your preferences, because not everybody wants to wear their makeup in the same way. So that's where the custom color match comes in. I have a link down in the drop box below the video that will tell me everything you like about your makeup or how you want to wear it. So that way when I color match you, I give you custom for you and not Sally down the street. All of our makeup comes in these adorable little tins. They slide out, and then everything is magnetic. Okay, so you can build your compact however you like it. Usually people start with the basics, which is what I'm going to be giving away, and that is a series of a highlight combination. So highlight shades within 3D foundation are what you most think of as foundation in the traditional makeup world. So these are the colors that are going to give coverage, color correction, evening out the skin tone, brightening the skin tone, much like a traditional foundation and concealer would work. But our makeup works very differently than a traditional liquid concealer. So there are some tips and tricks to know. That's what I'm here for. So you avoid any issues if you're trying to apply this makeup like traditional makeup and coming back to me and saying, Sarah, I hate it. That's why I have loads of help and I send you all of my tips and tricks before your makeup arrives so you're prepared. So the word 3D comes in when we add in that contour shade. So I believe everybody knows by now what contour is. That is the part where we can add dimension in our face, shadow, carve out our cheekbones, slim the forehead and the nose, carve out our jaw, all of those things. So our faces naturally have shadow in them. And when you put a one color foundation, like a liquid, across your entire face, you lose some of that dimension and you look flat. Contour is to add that back. So we have a 3D, a three-dimensional look with our 3D foundation. The cool thing about our contours though, unlike any other makeup on the market, is that our contours also give coverage. So you have the option of, you might have seen the finger paint method where you just put dots and you can contour and put the highlight where it goes, contour where it goes, blend it all together, you're good to go. I'm gonna show you my method of application. It's a little bit different due to my skincare concerns since I have hyperpigmentation, rosacea, all of those fun things I got as I got older. I specialize in the mature face, those that don't have perfect, even 20-year-old skin, if only. So I'm gonna show you my tips and tricks so that you get the best possible look with your 3D foundation and you're not coming back and saying, I'm not getting enough coverage. There are methods that will give you better coverage or that will give you more natural coverage or quicker application. It is truly a matter of your personal preference. The next color 3D foundation is the lip and cheek. So it is both a blush and a lip color, dual purpose. We have many formulations, many colors. Again, it can be overwhelming. That's what I'm here for. I will describe all of them, give you swatches of all of them because the online is very deceiving. So I want to make sure you have the perfect color for you. And I will show you how I like to wear it and do a little mixing and matching, which I believe is the most fun part about these cream products. And then last but not least is Illuminator. So this is what you would think of as like a highlighter in other makeup world. It's the one that will give you a glow, that lit glow to your skin. I actually pulled out a perfume, but our perfume actually has Illuminator in it. So I tend to pick up the one that's gonna do dual purpose. It's my fave. We have much more in the line, from bronzers, lip conditioners, lip liners, lots of blushes, and of course, eyeshadows, powders, all the things. If you've checked out the website and you see Demi's a whole nother ballgame. I have videos here on my channel showing you that, but I can color match you for both, no problem. But today's is all about starting 3D foundation. So we're just gonna hit those first. Okay, so the two brushes I included because I'm asked every day what you recommend to get started with. And I am always completely transparent with my clients. This makeup has a learning curve. All of our brushes are not equal because the number one issue I see as an artist is people applying way too much product. And I get it because I did the same thing when I started and I just didn't realize it until I had been using it for a while. So because these creams are like 30 times more pigmented than traditional foundation, we're used to really having to use quite a bit to cover our entire face. In fact, I always get questions all the time where people reply, those tins are so small. How is that going to last at all? And I'm telling you guys, I probably don't have to refill my highlights I might have to refill my main shade every 6 months. But because I use a combination of shades and not just one shade all over, trying to get coverage that way, this gives me better coverage using less product. And because I want to be able to see my skin and have it look like skin when I'm done, I'm not willing to sacrifice using one shade all over thicker with a powder to keep it in place. My methods are what I have found work far better in order to get the look I want, which is not heavy, not cakey, not that looks like you're wearing a ton of makeup. And I feel like that's how we all kind of want to look as we age. We just want to kind of look a little bit more youthful and glowing and not emphasizing texture with heavy powders that can age us, right? So I promise there's a method to my madness that I've discovered over the past 5 years. This truly is a game changer when I discovered the power of color correction. I'm gonna show you the blush and bronzer brush because I find this is the best brush for beginners because they don't tend to swipe in and get too much product on the brush. They also can get anything from natural to full coverage with this brush, depending on how it's used. So blush, bronzer, I'm all for bronzer as well. This is also, I use this for highlight and blush. This side for bronzer. The Detail is probably my #1 favorite brush just because it changed everything for me as far as applying contour. And contour is not one of those things that comes easily for people. Some people are really good at it, but cream contours are different. And I was always using a powder contour, and I started using a cream and I was having issues with blending it too much to where I couldn't even see it, or it wasn't giving me much coverage or dimension. And so switching to the Detail brush and the method in which I used it was everything for me. So I use this side for contour, this side I'm gonna use for detail work, and I do like to use this around my eyes as well for highlight. And then of course I cannot forget the Perfector. I'm telling you guys, there's no other sponge on the market that is designed to remove product. This is the only thing that will remove excess creams. And like I said before, the #1 issue is we apply way too much at the beginning. And it's okay, it's a learning curve. You just have to figure out how much to apply and you'll realize a little goes a long way in order to get the coverage you want. But in order to kind of keep it from looking heavy or makeup-y, if that's a word, the Perfector. And I honestly don't apply my makeup ever without this. It avoids creasing, again, texture issues, all of those things. Gives me that kind of airbrush look and makes it look like my skin again, which is my goal. That is how I like to wear my makeup. I'm gonna show you guys how I get those results. The Perfector though isn't like a traditional blending sponge that you use to apply a liquid foundation. They're very different. Trust me, I've tested them all. And this one actually removes excess. Okay, I have videos showing you exactly how I prepare it in my tips and tricks as well, because that is also a big factor in getting it to do what you want. Okay, enough chit chat. Let's get started. I'm gonna show you guys what I do first, and that is I'm going to hit the darkest points of my face with my color corrector. And I call my darkest highlight shade my color corrector. So I have one shade and not all of them correct in the same way, but this is specifically going to match the darkest points of my face. This color actually is really good for redness, dark circles, blue, purple tones, hyperpigmentation, blemishes. I call it magic mango, okay? It's just mango, but I call it magic because it is such a game changer. And when I discovered that I could use it in this way, my makeup never looked better than when I started this method, okay? Then I use my main shade as like what I would say a traditional foundation. I use that all over to, again, keep myself matching because this is too dark for me. It's too dark and it's too warm. but I need it because if I were to apply just this shade, it actually will start breaking up on my skin throughout the day. It doesn't give me good enough coverage on those problem areas. And so what I've realized over the years is that most of my clients want to have coverage where they want it, and they want to be able to customize their coverage depending on their day. So one of the best things about 3D Foundation is that I can switch up my brush and get a completely different look by doing a really natural look. I use the same colors. I just switch up the technique of application. And if I want to skip something one day, I can. But the number one important thing is you're hitting the darkest points of our face. And if you look at my face, you can obviously see the darkest points around my face are all due to color issues, I call them, meaning redness, darkness, blue, purple, excess hyperpigmentation, all of those things. Since those issues are darker, if I were to match, say, my neck, which is lighter, those darker points are going to show through. And sometimes what happens with 3D Foundation is that if you're not hitting those darker points first, the points on your face that are darker can actually create your makeup to look patchy, uneven, like I said, crack or even break up on the skin. I see it most prevalent around the nose, where a lot of people just have naturally like broken capillaries. And so you can tell how dark that is. If I were to apply this shade directly there, within a few hours, this would be broken up. And if I were to look at it closely, it's not pretty, okay? So if you've tried the makeup and you're having that issue, most likely you weren't given a color corrector because not everyone understands how this makeup works. But I'm telling you, I can get you to love this makeup. I've seen it time and time again on the difference a color will make. And sometimes it's literally one color up on our highlights make the difference between all day wear or longevity issues. So one of the number one concerns I see from people getting recolor matched by me is that they're not getting the longevity they want. And this is the number one thing that can fix that. The last shade is what we think of as a brightener. Now, some people call this a concealer. I don't like to call it a concealer because it doesn't actually correct anything. Concealers are meant for under eyes to get rid of darkness, right? Some people use a concealer in a different way after their foundation is on, and it's a much lighter color, and it's just meant to brighten, say, under the eyes and the center of the face. We always want to apply this like the latter, the last step. If you were to apply this first, it's actually going to increase the look of texture, give you far less coverage because this shade is too light for your face. In order to get a brightening effect, it has to be put on after you've hit those darker points. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm actually going to start with the blush end. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how I dip in so you can see how very little I use, okay? I'm going to pounce it, okay? I don't know if you can even see that. I'm just gonna pounce it, not with much pressure, and then I'm gonna hit the high points of my face first, which most people, where the sun hits first, are darker in those areas. Even if you don't realize it, there's a difference in depth between this part of my face and this part of my face. So what I always recommend is use your color corrector with the lightest hand possible in this buffing motion, okay? This is gonna distribute the product in the thinnest possible layer. Now, I have very reactive skin, so if I touch it, it'll turn red, but I promise it'll calm down here in a minute. So I'm just gonna hit that entire cheek area, forehead, tip of my chin, and then my nose, which you saw before, is the darkest area of my face. So, like I said, if I don't fully hit my nose, it's gonna break up and I'm gonna lose coverage there throughout the day. Noses typically are the darkest points of most people's faces. It sticks out the most. We tend to have more hyperpigmentation or redness there, broken capillaries, like I said. So really make sure if you're having issues with your nose, you have a color corrector. Nose is darker than the rest of your face. You will not be able to use one color on your entire face and expect your nose to last all day. I promise you. Okay, so I always say less is more with color correction. So that's it. I hit the top of the highest points of my face. Now I'm gonna go in with that small end of the detail because I'm a detail-oriented person. And I'm gonna hit those parts that this brush couldn't really reach well, which is broken capillary around my nose, because that is a problem area for me. And again, I can help you in your match, but just you will learn your face and where your problem areas are, and you will see as your makeup is wearing through the day where your darkest points are. Because if you're not hitting them with your color corrector and you notice that area is wearing off, guess what? You missed one, okay? So I always hit this dark spot of hyperpigmentation, and here's where I like to go in and I like to press. So I always tell my people, buff on where you need it first, then go back, and if you still see a lot of depth or you have a blemish or a dark spot, anything like that, go on and then press, okay? Buffing, thin layer, okay? Pressing will build up your coverage. This makeup is literally has to be built up in thin layers. One thick layer will never look the same as thin layers. Okay, now is where I like to hit my eyes, okay? Under eyes I have videos that are like an hour long that are very detailed about under eyes, because under eyes can be a really big concern for people, and there are many different ways of doing your under eyes. The key is keeping it thin where you need it. I tend to have very light around my eyes, but yet I have a lot of blue and purple because the veins, because that skin is very thin. So I always like to kind of even them out and also color correcting at the same time. So I go all the way on my eyelid. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit the darkest points. Then I lightly wanna add some depth so I'm no longer have this weird white blue tone. You see that? Okay, and then I have hyperpigmentation around this orbital bone, which is really normal as we age. It kind of tends to pool there. So I'm gonna press on more right there and on my big dark spot to build up that coverage. Okay, anywhere else you have dark spots or areas of texture are one thing that not a lot of people talk about, but shade too light will always emphasize texture. That's why we can't put on the brightener step until we've hit the darkest points first, or that area will just look textured. Nobody wants that. And since our eyes are sisters, not twins, you might have spots on one side that need more coverage than your other side did, or in different places. But this can be built up and customized exactly where you need it. Okay, so that was Mango. That is my color corrector. Now I'm gonna go into my main shade, which is lighter. It will neutralize that warmth. So you can tell I'm not a whole lot darker than I was when I started because I kept a very light hand. If I was to apply that too heavy, I would start getting in the Oompa Loompa category, okay? So if you need help keeping it light when you are getting started, I recommend using the Perfector between every layer. I know exactly how much to add after all these years, so I'm not gonna use this until the end, but that is a good idea if you can tell, like as soon as you use it, you're like, okay, that was too much, use your Perfector. Okay, so now I'm gonna stick to the blush end again, and I'm just going to tap and then tap right back on my face. And this is Sandy. I tap and then I just move to another area and I'm tapping on. Now, the reason why I can't buff this one on is because I would move all of that coverage I just placed. I just want to kind of press it onto the skin. It's going to slowly build up my coverage, tone down any of that warmth, and even out my skin tone so I'm nice and matching. So that will give me pretty much medium coverage. If you want more full coverage, just go in a little bit more and apply it a little bit heavier. Same technique. This brush will still be able to build up to full coverage. I'm gonna go in with the small brush again, just to make sure I hit those points that are hard to reach. And I like to make sure I'm slowly building coverage over those dark points and the darkness around my eyes. If you see a lot of warmth from your corrector still, you can use this shade anywhere you need it. Okay, so I have a very even canvas now. You can tell it minimized my hyperpigmentation, my redness. You can't tell that my nose is 3 shades darker anymore. My under eyes, all of that. The reason I had to apply my highlight first is because otherwise my contour would not give me adequate coverage in this area. You can kind of see I still have a little bit of dark points shining through, but if you have hyperpigmentation or redness in your cheek area, I recommend color correcting first. Yes, your contour can be applied directly to the skin to give coverage, but using these shades, then this over it is going to just build up that coverage, and those areas aren't gonna pop out as much or look more red. So I went ahead and actually grabbed Indigo. I normally don't wear it on the daily because this shade is warm and can pull out my redness, but I was having a good skin day. My skin wasn't super red. I do have rosacea, and so I normally recommend sticking with a cool tone contour because even cool tones are gonna pull more red if you have natural redness in your skin, right? But warm shades are gonna pull really red. If you color correct first, you might be able to still wear a shade like this, okay? So now I'm gonna pick up the detail brush and I'm going to use this straight edge because I like a defined contour. It might have taken me years to get to the point where I liked the definition, but I promise it'll come with time. I'm gonna hold it at an angle. I'm gonna pounce in with some pressure because these are much drier than our highlights. So I always get questions about the consistency, and I think people, because they hear creams, think that they're gonna be super creamy, but you gotta think about longevity and when it comes to formulation. If they're all super creamy, they're not gonna stay put where you put them on your face, and the creams will melt. And these creams actually stand up amazing in heat and humidity. But our highlights are a little bit more with a tackier texture, again, so that they stay. And then our contours are more on the drier side. I've literally been able to swim and still hide contour on my face because these babies really stay put. Now they both blend out really easily. In fact, one of the biggest things I troubleshoot is contour because it blends so easily that people tend to blend it all away and they say they can't see it. So this is how I avoid that. I'm a little bit more strategic with the way I contour. So we're just gonna act like, roll something straight and find underneath your cheekbone. It goes from about the top of the ear to the corner of the mouth. Can you see that? That's a universal face shape, okay? You can totally change with angles and stuff like that, but that's a little bit more advanced. I have it in other videos. For basic application, you want to find your cheekbone, and you always want to make sure you're placing it right under, if not a little bit higher, never lower. Lower will drag your face down, higher will lift, right? We never want to like pull our face down. So I like to get it on half the brush so that way I can almost just cup that cheekbone area. I can touch back here by my ear first because naturally your shadow is going to be the deepest where? Back by your ear. So anywhere you touch your face first, you're obviously going to deposit the most amount of product. See that? Okay. And then instead of this motion, that will blend it all away. We just color corrected all that. I am not going to go move it around and lose all my coverage. I am going to tap until I get to about the corner of my eye. You see that? Now you can tell that is cupping my cheekbone. Okay, and that will give me the ultimate lift if I just start pressing right along that imaginary line towards the corner of my mouth. Okay, now I'm just gonna keep pressing, and now I'm gonna use a little bit more pressure on my face because I'm gonna start blending, and I'm going to press upwards towards my hairline here and my temples to get that color to gently kind of fade or ombre upwards. We don't want to ever blend down, okay, because then this will get dragged down. But blending upwards, this look lifted, and when we put our lip and cheek over it, which is what we apply next, then it's going to kind of ombre into that color and look the most natural. Now, if you have trouble getting the line to blend, you can kind of use the end and flick upwards. But I mainly use this pressing motion, so I'm not moving that color corrector underneath, okay? Then if you get a little crazy, see, it naturally kind of blends in a little bit, which is why I don't like to go past my eye. Just pick up the brush you use for highlight. So pick up the highlight and just kind of press. It's like a magic eraser. You can even use this end to clean it up or make it more defined. If you do that, it's going to define it even more. If you want it more diffused, press along that line. I can tell I picked up a lot more this time. So I'm just going to grab a towel, get off the excess, and then blend. Okay, the other parts besides cheekbones, I feel like the cheekbones are the hardest part. Foreheads are easy. We're just gonna do the same thing, pouncing into the color, and then we're gonna press it along the hairline and make sure it's dark enough that you can see it. Okay, you can use contour to make your forehead look shorter or more narrow. I'm gonna go a little further so I can make it look a little bit shorter today. And then all you gotta do is press up into the hairline to blend, and then pull down into that highlight to blend. We don't want this definition across our forehead. Okay, if you need to, use your highlight. We just want to frame out the face. Same thing with the jawline. We're going to go up under the jaw, start back here by the ear, and go under, and then pull down the neck to blend. I'm not gonna nose contour today, but I am gonna use just a touch under my lower lip. And now we're ready to brighten. So I'm gonna pick back up that detail brush. I like to use this small end. Now I can apply my very lightest highlight shade, and when I apply it, it's not gonna look like chalk on my face. So of all the colors, I would say this is the one you wanna use the very least of. I honestly can't remember. I might have been using this for a full year. Like, it's pretty dry, to be honest. I can melt it back down, but right now, I'm just gonna use my finger to kind of warm it up a little bit. And that way, when I tap in, I know I'm getting a little bit on the brush, not much at all, okay? Then I'm gonna go and I'm just gonna use this color a little bit strategically, because if you were to swipe this on, again, you'll be swiping and moving product, moving coverage. My nose is kind of darker on the side, so I like to use it to kind of lighten that area. Do you see that? And then, of course, brighten that inner corner. And then I like to use it because it also builds up coverage because it's still highlight. And I use it right there where I have that hyperpigmentation. But I like to avoid where I have the most wrinkles, which is the crow's feet right under the eye area. And instead, I just kind of hit this right next to my nose to give that nice brightening effect without the full crazy triangle that tends to just crease and make us look older. Then you can hit in between your brows if you'd like. Down the center of the nose. I sometimes only do that if I am contouring Cupid's bow. Anywhere you want to highlight, bring light, or bring in the lightest tones of your face. So if you naturally have a lighter neck, you'll want to press it along the jawline as well to kind of help you keep matching. But I always say, just avoid those areas that give you texture issues. Like, I'm not gonna brighten right here because I know this is always gonna give me extra texture around my nose where I naturally have more texture. So think about where are your problem areas, avoid them with your brightener. I always say that, especially with under eyes, if you have more mature under eyes like I do. Okay, we finally made it. It is time to perfect. And you can tell, I feel like this is looking a little heavy. It's not bad, but to me it looks more full coverage, kind of makeup-y. I want to avoid that. The Perfector has now dried down enough to where it just feels cool to the touch. It's not damp at all. That is the perfect Perfector. Now, all I'm gonna do is bounce it around my entire face, because this is gonna pick up excess everywhere. It's gonna blur any lines. It's going to move excess from those areas you might be prone to creasing, especially if you are new and you haven't learned exactly how much to apply. It could be a game changer. And since I layered shades, I don't recommend doing that application method without the Perfector. Okay, so for me, the money is all under the eyes. I concentrate this under my eyes for a while because that is where I am prone to creasing. So I'm just going to keep pressing that. Can you tell how much less makeup-y and more like skin it looks like already? Again, if I was to put just powder over that, that's when you usually get cakiness. With our makeup, it's too much cream plus a powder, or using too heavy of a powder is what can cause the cakiness. Nobody wants that. Okay, so good. And I'm constantly moving this to a new cool spot where I know it's gonna keep picking up. Once it feels warm, I am rotating it to another spot so that it can keep doing its job. Okay, and since I have it just perfect now, I am gonna cheat and pick up another brush because this is my favorite. So I'm gonna grab the powder brush and I'm going to set my under eyes. So for me personally, if I don't set under my eyes, I will still crease. So if you don't know, creams do not set unless you set them. So they can migrate to the deepest crevices of our face or those areas that never stop moving, like our mouths and our eyes. And so around your eyes, if you're prone to creasing, just set it with a powder. I like the powder brush because it's the only brush I can really control and just barely touch our vanilla dust setting powder. And then I just pop it right there. And I press it on so I don't miss a spot. And then I usually put a little bit down my nose, brows. I sometimes hit my smile lines because that's another area of concern for me. And then I generously swipe in and hit my eyes because my eyes also always crease because they are mature. And now I have a nice base and I'm ready for eyeshadow. So some other options, bronzer, we have several. My ride or die is gonna be Bella. So I'm gonna go ahead and I feel like I just need a touch, not much. I'm gonna kind of nicely swirl over and then I'm gonna kind of tap. Again, I'm a tapper, I'm a presser because I just did all that work. I'm not gonna move my coverage. So I'm gonna hit high points of my face again. And if you have problems with your neck being lighter, bronzer is your friend. Okay, now for the fun part, lip and cheek. And I actually grabbed a couple so I can show you guys my favorite technique, which is layering. I like to use, we have more matte formulations. They're called satin on the website. They're mattes, okay? Or glossy, which you can tell are glossier. I'm a huge and forever will be a fan of mixing and matching shades so that I never wear the same shade 2 days in a row. So I picked this one because it kind of looked like my sweater. This is Frenchy. I'm going to simply tap in. Now this is probably the creamiest cream we make. Just an FYI, they're not all exactly the same in terms of formulation. I always try to tell people that. Okay, so now I'm gonna go for blush. For the mature face, we always kind of want to hit above the nose. So we're gonna smile and go to that outside apple of the cheek. Okay, and then we're gonna go and just pressing always along that contour line. So we have a nice ombre. Okay, beautiful. I literally tapped one time into this color. Now this is a matte. I love a dewy look. So I'm gonna go ahead and top it, because that's how I like to do it, with my favorite shade for fall right now, which is Royal. And I'm just gonna barely, again, tap and then do the same thing and make a little custom shade. Give myself a little glow, warm it up a little. So pretty. Let's go ahead and try the same combo on the lips. I have naturally dry lips, so I'm gonna use our lip conditioner. I'm gonna load up on it. And then you can use, this is Suede, our lip liner, or you can even use your contour color. I did that for years before we had a lip liner. Okay, once you've defined your lips, you can use the matte. And then I'm not a matte lip girl. Sorry, not sorry. Top it with the gloss. Now I like that. Hey, last but not least, our Illuminator. So this is the part that gives us that candlelit glow as we turn our face. The creams will naturally give you a glow anyway, but this is like icing on the cake. And if you grab a perfume like I did, you will also smell good. I like to use the Perfector. This is why it's stained, because I always use the Perfector as my last step. I swipe in generously and then I just press it along that highest point of my cheekbone, avoiding the crow's feet. So contour, lip and cheek, and then Illuminator. Cupid's bow. Inside corners. Under brow. I'm gonna do my brows and eyes real fast. Okay friends, I'm back. I filled my brows with my Trust eyeshadow, the one and only eyeshadow, and I am suddenly complete. I hope that video was helpful in getting you started with Seint IIID Foundation. Do not forget to enter the giveaway for this video. All you gotta do is color match from me. The color match request is in the drop box below the video. Just make sure you're getting matched this month and coming back and commenting matched. I will be double checking, commented and got a match in order to be entered. But this is just one of the 12. So if you aren't following me over on Instagram, make sure you're following me here on YouTube and over on Instagram to see the rest of the giveaways for the holiday season. I'm giving away a lot, from the entire skincare system, getting started with eyeshadows, demi color, all of the things. I love to give presents, and this is the one time a year that I give away a lot. But I do have monthly ones as well, so if you're following me over on Instagram or in my Facebook VIP page, you will have access to enter all of them as well. If you have any questions regarding Seint or IIID Foundation, just drop them in the comments below. I look forward to you trying it out for yourself. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you next week. Love you.